If you want to be strong, learn to fight alone. There comes a time in life when you have to walk alone, not because you want to, but because that's what it takes to become stronger. When you're chasing a goal, building a dream, or trying to change your life, you'll notice something. People stop paying attention. They don't ask how you're doing. They don't offer support. They don't seem to care. And that can feel discouraging. It can make you wonder if you're even on the right path. But here's the truth. Walking alone is not a sign that you're failing. It's a sign that you're on the right track. Most people don't understand the early stages of success. They only respect results. They won't cheer for you when you're struggling, when you're working late nights, when you're making sacrifices. But the moment they see you winning, everything changes. They'll suddenly act like they always believed in you. That's why you can't depend on anyone else to push you forward. You have to be the one to keep going, even when nobody is watching. This journey is not for the weak. It's for those who are willing to keep moving forward when the path is uncertain, when the nights are long, when the doubts start creeping in. The people who make it in life are the ones who refuse to stop, no matter how lonely the road gets. Because eventually the same people who ignored you, who doubted you, who didn't take you seriously, they'll be the ones chasing you. So if you feel like nobody cares, if you feel like you're walking this path alone, remember this. It's not a punishment, it's a test. And if you can keep going, if you can push through, one day you won't just prove them wrong. You'll prove yourself right. Stay strong. Keep walking. Because the ones who ignore you now won't be able to ignore you forever. Number 1, the world doesn't wait. Walk alone or get left behind. The world keeps moving. It doesn't pause. It doesn't wait. And it certainly doesn't slow down just because you feel uncertain, unprepared, or afraid. While you're standing still waiting for the right moment, someone else is already taking action. While you're overthinking, someone else is making progress. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't isn't intelligence, talent, or luck. It's the decision to move forward, even when it's uncomfortable, even when no one is walking beside you. Most people waste years waiting. They wait for the right opportunity, the right support, the right feeling of confidence. But life doesn't reward those who wait. It rewards those who step up and take action. Think about all the times you hesitated, all the moments you thought, I'll start tomorrow, or I'll do it when I'm ready. Where did that get you? Did waiting make things easier? Did hesitation bring you closer to your goals? Or did you watch time pass while others moved ahead? That's how life works. The world doesn't stop for you. If you're not moving, you're falling behind. Some people will tell you to be patient. They'll say wait for the right time. But here's the truth. They're saying that because they're afraid to take action themselves. They don't want to see you move forward, because it reminds them of their own excuses. They want company in their hesitation, but you don't have time to waste waiting for approval. You don't have time to wait for someone to come and push you. If you want something, you have to be willing to go after it alone. Walking alone isn't easy. There are no shortcuts. No one is coming to save you. No one is going to hand you success. And that's why most people never reach their full potential. They give up too soon. They get tired of the struggle. They want quick results. But when things get hard, they look for an easier path. That's why so many people live average lives. Because they never develop the discipline to keep pushing when things get tough. But if you can learn to push through the discomfort, if you can develop the mindset that says I will keep going no matter what, then nothing can stop you. Because once you prove to yourself that you can keep moving forward, without needing motivation, without needing someone to push you, you become unstoppable. Most people are waiting for external motivation. They need someone to inspire them. They need validation from others. But the most successful people don't rely on motivation. They rely on discipline. They don't need someone to tell them to work hard. They do it because they've built the habit. You have to stop waiting for the perfect conditions. Stop waiting for someone to guide you. Stop waiting for everything to make sense. Just start. Start with what you have. Start where you are. Stop looking at what other people are doing. Their journey is not yours. Their timing is not yours. The only thing that matters is what you do today. Some people will doubt you. They will question your choices. They will say, why are you working so hard? Or why don't you just enjoy life? But later those same people will ask how you did it. Later they will see the results of your hard work and wonder why they didn't do the same. That's how it always happens. First they doubt you, then they admire you. But by then you'll already be ahead. Success isn't about waiting for the right time. It's about making time work for you. It's about using every single day to get better, to learn, to grow. If you're not moving forward, you're moving backward. If you're not learning, you're falling behind. If you're not building something for yourself, you're wasting time. The world doesn't wait. It never has. It never will. So why should you? Why should you waste another day hesitating when you could be building your future? Start today. Take the first step, even if it's small, even if it's uncertain, even if you have to walk alone. Because if you don't, you'll look back years from now and regret that you didn't start sooner. The world keeps moving. The only question is, will you move with it? Number 2, you are your own competition. No one else matters. Most people spend their lives looking around, comparing themselves to others, worrying about who's ahead and who's behind. They measure their progress based on someone else's timeline, someone else's success, someone else's approval. But let me tell you something. None of that matters. The only person you should be competing with is the person you were yesterday. The only race that matters is the one you're running against yourself. Because at the end of the day, no one is living your life but you. No one else has your challenges, your experiences, or your dreams. And no one else is going to put in the work for you. The moment you start focusing on what others are doing, you lose sight of your own path. You waste energy watching their progress instead of making your own. You start feeling behind, like you're not doing enough, like you're not good enough. But let's be real. What does their success have to do with yours? What does their journey have to do with where you're going? Absolutely nothing. Because no matter how much you watch them, it won't change where you are. No matter how much you compare, it won't make you better. The only thing that will change your life is focusing on your own growth, your own improvement, your own discipline. You see, real progress happens when you stop chasing people and start chasing your own potential. When you wake up every day and ask yourself, how can I be better than I was yesterday? That's how you win. Not by trying to outdo someone else, not by trying to prove anything to the world, but by proving to yourself that you can be stronger, smarter, and more disciplined than you were before. Because that's the only thing that's in your control. Some people will try to compete with you. They'll try to outshine you, outwork you, outtalk you. Let them do whatever they need to do to feel better about themselves. But don't play that game. Don't lower yourself to their level. Because while they're busy watching you, you'll be too busy improving yourself. While they're focused on competing with you, you'll be too focused on becoming the best version of yourself. And here's the truth. When you focus on your own path, you become unstoppable. Because no one can beat you at being you. No one else has your unique strengths, your unique perspective, your unique abilities. The only way to truly lose in life is to waste time trying to be someone you're not, instead of maximizing who you are. But most people don't realize this. Most people live their whole lives trying to prove something to others, trying to get validation, trying to be seen as successful. And because of that, they never actually feel successful. No matter how much they achieve, it's never enough. Because they weren't doing it for themselves in the first place. They were doing it to impress people who don't even care. They were doing it to prove something to people who aren't even watching. That's why you have to stop looking left and right. Stop looking at what everyone else is doing. Focus on your own lane. Focus on your own progress. Because that's what really matters. It's not about being better than someone else. It's about being better than you were before. If yesterday you made excuses, today you push through. If yesterday you wasted time, today you make every second count. If yesterday you doubted yourself, today you take action despite the doubt. That's how you grow. That's how you succeed. But if you keep watching others, if you keep comparing, if you keep worrying about who's ahead and who's behind, you'll never get anywhere. Because while you're watching them, they're moving forward. While you're worrying about their success, they're busy creating more of it. And where does that leave you? Stuck in the same place, wondering why you're not getting ahead. The only real competition is you versus you. The only thing you should be chasing is your own improvement. The only thing you should be focused on is becoming better than you were yesterday. Because the second you start competing with others, you lose control of your own journey. You start living based on their timeline, their expectations, their definition of success. And that's a guaranteed way to lose. But when you take full ownership of your progress, when you commit to your own journey, when you decide that your only competition is yourself, everything changes. You stop feeling behind. You stop feeling the need to prove anything to anyone. You stop wasting time on things that don't matter. Instead, you channel all your energy into what does matter. Your growth, your discipline, your consistency. That's how real success is built. Not by watching others, not by trying to be better than them, but by being the best version of yourself every single day. Because in the end, that's the only thing that truly matters. Number 3, being alone is not a weakness, it's a test of strength. Most people are afraid to be alone. They think being alone means being weak, being unwanted, being left behind. But that's not the truth. Being alone is a test. It's the ultimate challenge life gives you to see what you're really made of. Because when no one is around to hold your hand, when no one is there to tell you what to do, when it's just you facing life, that's when you find out who you really are. That's when you discover your strength, your resilience, your ability to stand on your own 2 feet. And most people never get to that point because they're too afraid to face it. They cling to distractions. They surround themselves with noise. They look for validation from others because they don't trust themselves to walk alone. But let me tell you something. If you can learn to stand alone, you become unstoppable. Because now you don't need anyone to push you. You don't need anyone to believe in you. You don't need anyone to tell you what's possible. You've built that strength from within. You've trained yourself to keep going even when there's no applause, even when no one is watching. And that kind of strength is rare. That kind of strength is powerful. People will tell you that you need a support system, that you need encouragement, that you need constant motivation from others. And while having good people around is great, you can't rely on it. Because what happens when they leave? What happens when no one shows up? What happens when the people you counted on disappear? If you don't know how to stand alone, you'll fall apart. You'll stop moving forward because you were depending on someone else to keep you going. And that's why being alone is not a weakness. It's a test of how strong you really are. The hardest moments in life are the ones you face alone, when you're struggling and no one seems to care. When you're working hard and no one is clapping for you. When you're fighting battles that no one else even knows about. Those are the moments that shape you. Those are the moments that define who you become. And if you can survive those moments without breaking, without giving up, without losing faith in yourself, then there is nothing that can stop you. Because now you've built a level of strength most people will never have. Most people avoid being alone because they don't like what they hear when there's silence. They don't like facing their own thoughts, their own fears, their own doubts. So they fill their time with distractions. They constantly seek attention, approval, company, anything to avoid being by themselves. But the truth is, if you can't be alone with yourself, you'll never really know yourself. If you can't sit with your own thoughts, how do you expect to master your own mind? If you constantly need other people to make you feel okay, how will you ever become truly strong? Being alone is a chance to build yourself. It's a chance to develop discipline, to work on your goals without distractions, to get clear on what you really want in life. It's a chance to prove to yourself that you don't need permission to succeed. You don't need a cheerleader to keep moving forward. You don't need someone to hold your hand every step of the way. You have everything you need within you. You just have to be willing to tap into it. Think about the greatest people in history, the ones who changed the world. They all had periods of isolation. They all had moments where they had to stand alone, when no one believed in them, when they had to fight their battles by themselves. But instead of breaking them, those moments made them. Those moments forced them to dig deeper, to become stronger, to develop a level of resilience that set them apart from everyone else. That's the real test. Can you keep going when no one is watching? Can you stay committed when no one is clapping for you? Can you keep believing in yourself when everyone else doubts you? If you can, then you're already ahead of most people. Because most people quit the second they feel alone. They quit the moment they don't get instant validation. They give up when things get hard, because they never learned how to rely on themselves. You don't have to be like them. You don't have to be afraid of walking alone. In fact, you should embrace it, because it's in those moments of solitude that you grow the most. It's in those moments that you build the kind of strength that no one can take away from you. The world will try to convince you that being alone means being weak, that if you don't have a crowd around you, you're failing. But the truth is, the strongest people are the ones who don't need a crowd to feel secure. The ones who can stand on their own 2 feet, no matter what. The ones who can wake up every day and push themselves, even when no one is there to push them. If you can master being alone, you can master anything, because now nothing can shake you. No setback, no criticism, no rejection can break you, because you've built yourself up from the inside. You've created a level of strength that doesn't depend on anyone else, and that is the kind of strength that leads to true success. Number 4, stop waiting for support. No one cares until you succeed. Most people spend their lives waiting for support, waiting for encouragement, waiting for someone to believe in them, to push them, to give them the motivation they need to keep going. And that's exactly why most people never make it, because they're waiting for something that isn't coming. They're hoping for a level of support that doesn't exist. The hard truth is, no one really cares until you succeed. No one's going to clap for you while you're struggling. No one's going to check in on you every day to make sure you're staying disciplined. No one's going to push you to keep going when life gets tough. That's your job. That's your responsibility. And the sooner you accept that, the sooner you'll break free from the illusion that someone is coming to save you. No one is coming. If you want something, you have to go get it yourself. Most people don't want to hear that. They want to believe that if they just work hard enough, if they just keep grinding, eventually someone will notice and offer them a shortcut. A mentor will appear, an opportunity will fall into their lap. Someone will come along and say, "I see how hard you're working. Let me help you out." But that's not how the world works. The world doesn't reward effort. It rewards results. No one cares how much time you're putting in, how much you're struggling, how much you want it. They care about what you produce. They care about what you bring to the table. And until you have something to show for your effort, until you've proven that you're capable of winning, most people will ignore you. It's a painful truth, but it's one that will set you free. Because once you stop expecting support, once you stop waiting for validation, you take all your power back. You stop relying on other people to keep you motivated. You stop getting disappointed when people don't show up for you. And most importantly, you stop wasting time trying to prove yourself to people who were never going to believe in you in the first place. Instead, you put your head down and you work in silence. You grind when no one is watching. You push yourself when no one is cheering you on. You become your own source of motivation, your own biggest fan, your own best support system. And then something interesting happens. When you finally succeed, when you finally prove yourself, suddenly everyone wants to support you. Suddenly people who never believed in you start claiming they always knew you could do it. People who never helped you when you were struggling start asking how you did it. People who ignored you when you were at the bottom suddenly want to be a part of your story. But by then you won't need them, because you built yourself without them. You succeeded without their validation. You climbed the mountain alone, and now that you're at the top, you don't need anyone to tell you that you deserve to be there. That's the power of stopping the wait for support. That's the strength that comes from learning how to move forward without anyone pushing you. Think about how many dreams have died because people were waiting for support that never came. How many ideas never got off the ground because someone was waiting for approval, waiting for permission, waiting for someone else to say, "Yes, you should do this." The truth is, most people won't believe in you until after you've already succeeded. And that's okay. That's just how human nature works. People don't believe in potential. They believe in proof. They don't care about your dreams. They care about results. So stop wasting time trying to get people to believe in you. Stop explaining yourself. Stop looking for reassurance. Just do the work. Just put in the time. Just build something so undeniable that they have no choice but to notice you. When you stop waiting for support, you become dangerous, because now you're not tied down by other people's opinions. You don't care if they doubt you. You don't care if they don't see the vision yet. You don't need them to see it, because you see it. You believe in it. And that's all that matters. That's all you need. And once you reach that level of self-belief, nothing can stop you. No setback, no failure, no rejection will be enough to break you, because you've built your strength from the inside. And here's the best part. When you finally make it, when you finally prove yourself, when you finally reach the level of success that you were always capable of, you're going to look back at all the times you wanted support and realize that you never needed it. That everything you were waiting for, validation, encouragement, motivation, was inside of you the entire time. You just had to tap into it. You just had to stop looking for it in other people and start looking for it in yourself. Because at the end of the day, the only person who can truly push you to success is you. Number 5. The more you depend on others, the less you trust yourself. Most people don't realize just how much they rely on others until they find themselves alone. And that's when it hits them. That sinking feeling of uncertainty, the hesitation before making a decision, the doubt creeping in when no one is there to give approval. It's a hard truth to accept, but the more you depend on others, the less you trust yourself. Every time you seek permission, every time you wait for advice, every time you need someone else to validate your choices, you're weakening your own ability to navigate life. You're outsourcing your confidence, handing over control of your future, and giving power to people who may not even have your best interests at heart. And that's dangerous. Because the more you rely on others, the harder it becomes to stand on your own 2 feet. Think about how many times you've second-guessed yourself because someone else's opinion made you doubt your own instincts. How many times you had an idea, a dream, a plan, only to put it on hold because someone else wasn't convinced. How many times you waited for someone to reassure you before taking action. That's the trap. That's how dependence strips you of your own strength. It starts small, asking for advice, seeking approval, looking for encouragement, but over time it turns into something far more damaging. Suddenly you're afraid to make decisions without running them by someone first. You hesitate, you overthink, you look around for a signal before moving forward, and that's when you lose control of your own life. Because if you can't trust yourself to make choices, you'll always need someone else to do it for you. And here's the worst part. When you depend on others, you give them the power to control your emotions. If they support you, you feel confident. If they doubt you, you start doubting yourself. If they disappear, you feel lost. And that's no way to live. Because people are unreliable. They have their own problems, their own priorities, their own limitations. You can't build your foundation on something that isn't stable. That's why learning to trust yourself isn't just important, it's necessary. Because when you trust yourself, you don't need constant validation. You don't need someone to hold your hand. You don't need reassurance every step of the way. You move because you believe in your own ability to figure things out. You take action because you know you'll handle whatever comes next. And that kind of self-reliance is what separates those who succeed from those who stay stuck. Look at the most successful people in the world. They didn't get there by waiting for approval. They didn't build their lives by depending on others to guide them. They moved forward even when no one believed in them. They made decisions even when people told them they were wrong. They took risks, faced failures, and adjusted along the way. But they trusted themselves enough to keep going. And that's what you have to do. You have to stop asking for permission. Stop waiting for someone to tell you it's okay. Stop looking for a support system that might not even be there when you need it most. The more you learn to stand on your own, the stronger you become. And the stronger you become, the less you need anyone to hold you up. Now that doesn't mean you should never accept help. That doesn't mean you have to do everything alone. But there's a difference between receiving support and depending on it. There's a difference between working with people and needing them to function. One makes you stronger, the other makes you weaker. If you're constantly looking for guidance, constantly second-guessing yourself, constantly needing someone to reassure you, you're not in control of your own destiny. You're letting other people dictate your path. And the problem with that is simple. Most people don't know what's best for you. They don't see your vision. They don't understand your hunger. They don't have your drive. So why would you let them make decisions for you? Why would you put your future in their hands? When you trust yourself, you move differently. You stop over-explaining your decisions. You stop looking for validation. You stop hesitating every time you have to make a move. You develop an unshakable belief in your own ability to figure things out. And that kind of belief is what gives you real power. Because now nothing can stop you. Doubt doesn't paralyze you anymore. Fear doesn't keep you stuck. Other people's opinions don't control your actions. You take full ownership of your life, your choices, and your success. And that's when everything changes. People who depend on others for confidence, for direction, for motivation, they stay stuck. They stay in the same place, waiting for permission that may never come. But the ones who trust themselves, they move forward, they take risks, they make mistakes, they learn, they grow. And because of that, they win. Not because they never failed, but because they never needed anyone else to tell them it was okay to keep going. And here's what happens when you start trusting yourself. You stop needing approval. And ironically, that's when people start giving it to you. When you move with confidence, people believe in you more. When you stop explaining yourself, people respect you more. When you take action without hesitation, people admire you more. But by then you won't even need it, because you'll already know what you're capable of. You won't need anyone to tell you that you're on the right path. You'll just know. And that's the ultimate freedom. So if you've been waiting for someone to believe in you, if you've been depending on others to make you feel confident, it's time to let that go. It's time to take back your power. The more you trust yourself, the less you need from the outside world. And when you reach that point, there's nothing you can't do. Number 6. The hardest walk leads to the strongest version of you. There comes a time when you realize that the road you're walking is not easy. It's filled with struggles, setbacks, moments of doubt, and times when you feel like giving up. But let me tell you something that most people will never understand. The hardest walk you'll ever take is the one that transforms you into the strongest version of yourself. It's not the easy days that shape you. It's not the moments of comfort that build you. It's when you have no choice but to dig deep, to keep pushing forward even when everything inside you is screaming to stop. That's when you find out what you're really made of. Most people will never take that walk. They'll stay where it's safe, where it's comfortable, where they don't have to struggle. And that's why most people never change. They never grow. They never become anything more than what they've always been. Because growth requires pain, strength requires struggle, and the hardest walk, that's the one that leads to everything you've ever wanted. There's something about going through the fire alone that does something to a person. It changes you. When you don't have a safety net, when you don't have someone to pick you up every time you fall, when you have to figure it out on your own, that's when you become unbreakable. That's when you develop a level of strength that no one can take away from you. Because once you've survived the storm, once you've walked through the darkness and made it out on the other side, there's nothing left to fear. You stop depending on people. You stop looking for shortcuts. You stop waiting for someone to save you. You realize that everything you need is already inside you. And that's when you become unstoppable. Most people will never know what that feels like. They'll spend their entire lives avoiding discomfort, running from difficulty, doing everything they can to stay in their little bubble of safety. And then they wonder why they feel stuck, why they feel weak, why they feel lost. It's because they've never tested themselves. They've never been forced to grow. They've never been put in a position where they had to fight for their own survival. But you have a choice. You can take the easy road like everyone else, or you can embrace the hard path, knowing that it's the only way to truly transform. There's a reason why the strongest people you've ever met all have one thing in common. They've been through something. They've had to endure pain. They've had to suffer in silence. They've had to figure things out on their own when no one else believed in them. They didn't wake up one day with an unshakable mindset. They earned it. They walked through the fire, and instead of letting it destroy them, they let it forge them into something stronger. That's the difference between people who succeed and people who stay the same. It's not about talent. It's not about luck. It's about who is willing to walk the hardest path. Who is willing to keep going when every muscle in their body is telling them to stop? Who is willing to bet on themselves even when the odds are stacked against them? Because let's be honest, life is not going to hand you success. It's not going to give you everything you want just because you wish for it. You have to earn it. You have to be willing to do what most people won't. You have to be willing to wake up every single day and fight for the future you want. Even when no one is watching. Even when no one believes in you, even when there's no guarantee that you'll succeed. That's what separates the strong from the weak. That's what makes the difference between those who win and those who spend their lives wondering what could have been. It's easy to look at successful people and think they had it all figured out. But what you don't see is the years of struggle, the nights they spent alone, the times they wanted to quit but didn't. Every champion has scars. Every warrior has battle wounds. Every strong person you admire had to go through something that would have broken the average person. And that's why they're different. That's why they stand out. Not because they were handed success, but because they earned it through blood, sweat, and tears. And that's the price you have to be willing to pay if you want to become the strongest version of yourself. There is no shortcut. There is no easy way. You can either take the hard path now and grow into the person you're meant to be, or you can take the easy path and stay the same. But you can't have both. The strongest version of you is on the other side of struggle, on the other side of pain, on the other side of every challenge you're facing right now. But you'll never get there if you quit. You'll never get there if you keep looking for an easy way out. You'll never get there if you wait for someone else to save you. You have to take that walk alone. You have to embrace the struggle. You have to be willing to do what most people won't. Because if you can do that, if you can keep moving forward when everything in you wants to stop, then one day you'll wake up and realize that nothing can break you anymore. That no challenge is too big. That no obstacle can stop you. Because you've already faced the worst. And you made it through. That's the kind of strength that no one can take away from you. That's the kind of power that separates the great from the average. So don't be afraid of the hard path. Don't run from the struggle. Don't wish for an easier life. Wish to be stronger. Wish to be better. Wish to be unshakable. Because once you become that person, there's nothing left to fear. There's nothing left to hold you back. You become the strongest version of yourself. And from that point on, the world is yours. Number 7. When you stop chasing people, you start attracting respect. There comes a moment when you realize you've been wasting too much time running after people, seeking their validation, craving their approval, hoping they'll see your worth. And that moment, that realization, is the turning point of your life. Because the second you stop chasing, the second you stop begging for attention, that's when everything changes. That's when you start attracting real respect. That's when people start noticing you. Not because you're demanding their attention, but because you've become someone who no longer needs it. Most people don't understand this. They believe that if they just try harder, if they just prove themselves enough, then maybe, just maybe, people will finally see them, appreciate them, respect them. But respect is never earned by chasing. It's never gained by lowering yourself just to be noticed. The truth is, the more you chase, the more you push people away. The more you beg to be seen, the less valuable you appear. It's human nature. When something is always available, always desperate for attention, people take it for granted. They don't respect it. But when something is rare, when it carries itself with dignity, that's when people start paying attention. That's when people start valuing it. Think about the most respected people in the world. The leaders, the visionaries, the ones who stand out. Do they chase? Do they beg for attention? No. They focus on themselves, on their growth, on their goals. And because they are so committed to their own journey, others naturally gravitate toward them. That's how it works. You don't demand respect. You earn it by becoming someone worth respecting. But most people will never understand this, because they're too afraid of being alone. They're too scared of what might happen if they stop running after people. If they stop being the one who always reaches out, always tries to fix things, always puts in more effort than they receive. And that fear, that's what keeps them stuck. That's what makes them easy to overlook, easy to forget, because people can sense desperation. They can feel when someone is trying too hard, and that energy is repelling. The moment you stop trying to prove yourself to others, the moment you stop chasing friendships, relationships, approval, that's when you step into your power. That's when people start seeing you differently. Not as someone who needs them, but as someone they want to be around. It's a shift that changes everything. When you carry yourself with confidence, when you respect yourself enough to walk away from situations where you're not valued, that's when people start respecting you. Because they see that you're not desperate. They see that you know your worth, and nothing is more powerful than that. This is the mistake most people make. They think that if they just try harder, if they just show more love, more loyalty, more dedication, then people will treat them the way they deserve to be treated. But life doesn't work that way. The harder you chase, the more you devalue yourself, the more you beg for attention, the more invisible you become. People don't respect what they don't have to work for. They don't value what is always there, waiting, hoping to be noticed. If you want respect, stop chasing. If you want to be valued, stop making yourself so available. If you want to be treated like you matter, start acting like you do. That means setting boundaries. That means walking away from people who don't see your worth. That means focusing on yourself so much that you no longer have time to worry about who stays and who leaves. Because the truth is, the right people, the ones who truly respect and appreciate you, will never require you to chase them. They will recognize your value without you having to prove it. And that's the difference between those who are respected and those who are ignored. It's not about being the loudest. It's not about trying to impress people. It's about knowing who you are, standing firm in your self-worth, and refusing to lower yourself just to be accepted. When you carry yourself like that, people can feel it. They can sense your confidence, your independence, your strength. And suddenly the same people who once overlooked you, the same people who didn't care when you were chasing, they start paying attention. They start wondering why you're no longer seeking their approval. And that's when the dynamic shifts. That's when you go from being the one who was always giving, always trying, always chasing, to being the one who is respected, admired, and valued. It's a hard lesson to learn. It's painful to realize that the people you thought cared about you never truly did. It's tough to accept that the ones you went out of your way for wouldn't do the same for you. But that pain, that realization, that's what will set you free. Because once you stop needing people, once you stop trying to force connections that were never meant to be, you start attracting relationships that are real. You start surrounding yourself with people who actually appreciate you, not for what you can do for them, not because you're always available, but because they truly value who you are. This is why the most powerful thing you can do is work on yourself, improve your mindset, build your skills, chase your goals, become the best version of yourself, not for anyone else, but for you. And as you do that, you'll notice something incredible happening. The same people who once ignored you, the ones who didn't see your worth, they'll start paying attention. Not because you begged for it, not because you chased them, but because they can see that you've leveled up. And that kind of power, that kind of self-respect, that's something no one can take away from you. So if you're tired of feeling unappreciated, if you're tired of chasing after people who don't see your worth, stop running after them. Stop wasting your energy on people who wouldn't do the same for you. Redirect that energy back to yourself. Focus on your growth, your success, your happiness, and watch how everything changes. Because when you stop chasing people, you start attracting respect. And once you have that, you'll never need to chase anyone again. Number 8. Silence is where you discover your true power. There is a kind of power that most people will never tap into because they are too afraid of being alone with their own thoughts. They drown themselves in noise, in distractions, in endless scrolling, in conversations that go nowhere, in people who do nothing but drain them. And they wonder why they feel lost, why they feel like they have no direction, no clarity, no sense of purpose. It's because they have never embraced silence. They have never given themselves the space to hear what truly matters. But if you can learn to sit in silence, if you can learn to embrace it instead of running from it, you will unlock something that most people will never experience: true power. People misunderstand silence. They think it's loneliness. They think it's emptiness. They think it's a void that needs to be filled. But silence is where everything begins. It's where your mind finally has room to breathe, where you can actually listen to yourself, where you can separate what the world has told you from what you truly believe. The reason so many people feel weak, scattered, unsure of themselves, is because they are constantly surrounded by noise, by other people's opinions, by distractions that keep them from ever truly thinking for themselves. But silence strips all of that away. Silence forces you to face yourself. And that's where your power is. When was the last time you sat in complete silence? No phone, no music, no conversations, just you and your thoughts. Most people can't do it. Most people are terrified of what might come up. of what they might feel, of what they might have to confront, so they avoid it. They keep themselves busy. They fill every moment with something external, because deep down they are afraid of looking inward. But that's exactly why they feel powerless, because they have no idea who they really are. They have no idea what they truly want. They only know what the world has told them to want. And as long as they keep running from silence, they will always be at the mercy of outside influences, always controlled by the noise of the world instead of the voice inside them. But the people who truly understand their power, the people who move through life with confidence, with purpose, with an unshakable sense of self, they are the ones who have embraced silence. They are the ones who have taken the time to sit with their own thoughts, to question everything, to dig deep into who they are without anyone else's input. They have learned to be alone, to be comfortable in their own company, to trust their own judgment without needing validation from anyone else. And that is why they are strong. That is why they cannot be easily influenced, cannot be manipulated, cannot be made to doubt themselves, because they have done the work that most people avoid. There is something about silence that forces growth. When you take away the noise, the distractions, the endless opinions of others, you are left with yourself. And that can be uncomfortable. That can be confronting. But that is also where real transformation happens. That is where you start to notice the things in your life that are no longer serving you. That is where you start to see the habits, the relationships, the mindsets that have been holding you back. And once you see them clearly, you can no longer ignore them. You are forced to make a choice. Stay the same, or step into something greater. Most people don't want to do that. Most people would rather continue living in the illusion that everything is fine than face the reality that they need to change. But those who embrace silence, who use it as a tool instead of running from it, they are the ones who grow. They are the ones who rise, because they have taken the time to understand themselves on a level that most people never will. And that understanding, that self-awareness, that is power. There is a reason why the most successful people in the world make time for silence. They don't just fill every moment with noise. They take time to reflect, to think, to strategize. They understand that real clarity doesn't come from constant movement. It comes from stillness. It comes from stepping back, from observing, from allowing the mind to process everything without interruption. This is why so many people stay stuck in cycles of frustration and confusion. They never give themselves the space to actually think, to actually process their lives, to actually hear their own intuition. They just keep moving, keep distracting, keep avoiding. And in doing so, they rob themselves of the wisdom that comes from silence. But when you learn to sit in silence, when you learn to embrace it, instead of running from it, something shifts. You start to see the truth. You start to recognize what actually matters. You stop being controlled by the opinions of others, because you have taken the time to form your own. You stop being reactive, because you have gained the ability to think before you act. You stop feeling lost, because you have developed a connection with yourself that guides you in the right direction. And that kind of power, that kind of inner strength, that is something that no one can take from you. Most people won't understand this. They will continue to run from silence, to fill every space with something external, to drown out their own thoughts, in an attempt to avoid facing themselves. And they will continue to feel lost, to feel disconnected, to feel like they have no real control over their lives. But you don't have to be like most people. You can choose differently. You can choose to embrace silence, to use it as a tool, to allow it to reveal things to you that you would never see otherwise. And when you do that, you will begin to access a level of clarity, of strength, of confidence, that few people ever will. This is the difference between those who move through life with certainty, and those who are constantly seeking answers outside of themselves. The ones who have embraced silence, who have made it a part of their lives, they don't need validation. They don't need constant input from the world. They trust themselves. They trust their own judgment. They know who they are. And because of that, they are powerful. So if you feel like you've been lost, if you feel like you've been looking for answers in all the wrong places, if you feel like you've been chasing external validation, instead of listening to yourself, stop, take a step back, make time for silence, sit with your thoughts, let yourself think, process, reflect. It will be uncomfortable at first. It will feel unfamiliar. But if you can push past that discomfort, If you can learn to embrace the stillness, instead of fearing it, you will discover something that most people never will. Your true power, because your power has never been in the noise, in the distractions, in the endless opinions of others. It has always been within you, waiting for you to listen. Number 9, people will call you crazy until they call you a genius. There comes a point in your life when you have to decide, are you going to follow the crowd, do what everyone else is doing, think the way everyone else thinks, live the way everyone else lives, or are you going to break away? Because the truth is, the moment you decide to do something different, something bold, something that doesn't fit inside the small box of what society considers normal, people are going to talk. They're going to doubt you. They're going to laugh at you. They're going to call you crazy. And that's when most people stop. That's when most people give up. Because they don't want to be the outcast. They don't want to be the one that gets ridiculed, the one that people whisper about, the one that makes others uncomfortable. But here's what they don't understand. Every single person who ever did something great was once seen as crazy. Every single person who ever changed the world was once doubted, ridiculed, misunderstood. Because when you think differently, when you see the world in a way that others can't, when you have a vision that is bigger than their limited perspective, they won't get it. They can't. But what happens when you refuse to listen to them? What happens when you keep pushing, keep building, keep going, even when no one else sees the vision? One day, those same people who doubted you, who laughed at you, who told you it was impossible, they start calling you a genius. They start acting like they believed in you all along. They start asking how you did it, how you saw what they couldn't see, how you made something out of nothing. That's how it works. People don't believe in what they can't understand. They don't trust what they can't see. Most people are only comfortable with what already exists, what has already been proven, what fits into their limited way of thinking. So when you step outside of that, when you start building something new, when you start moving in a way that doesn't make sense to them, their first reaction is to resist it, to call it unrealistic, to call it foolish, to call it crazy. But you have to ask yourself, are you going to let small minds dictate the size of your dreams? Are you going to let the opinions of people who have never built anything stop you from building something great? Because the truth is, the only difference between being called crazy and being called a genius is results. If you quit, if you back down, if you give up just because they don't see what you see, they win. But if you keep going, if you refuse to stop, if you push through every failure, every doubt, every moment of uncertainty, eventually the results will speak for themselves. And that's when everything changes. Think about the greatest innovators, the greatest minds, the greatest leaders in history. They were all doubted. They were all called crazy at some point. When the Wright brothers were trying to fly, people laughed at them. When Thomas Edison was working on the light bulb, they told him he was wasting his time. When Steve Jobs was building Apple, people thought he was out of his mind. But what happened? They kept going. They kept working. They kept believing in their vision, even when no one else did. And now no one calls them crazy anymore. Now they're called visionaries, geniuses, pioneers. The same people who doubt you today will be the ones praising you tomorrow, if you don't quit. But most people don't make it that far. Most people let the doubt get to them. They start questioning themselves. They start thinking, maybe they're right. Maybe I am crazy. Maybe I should just stop. And that's why most people never achieve greatness. Not because they aren't capable, not because they don't have the potential, but because they give up too soon. You have to understand, the world will only believe in you after you've given them a reason to. That's just how it is. People need proof. They need to see the success before they acknowledge the effort. And that's why you can't be in this for validation. You can't be in this for approval. You have to be in it because you believe in it. You have to be willing to be misunderstood, to be doubted, to be ridiculed. Because if you can survive that, if you can keep going despite all of it, one day you will wake up and realize that the very thing they called crazy is the thing they now admire. But that moment only comes to those who refuse to stop. It only comes to those who are willing to walk the lonely road, to endure the criticism, to keep working when no one is watching, when no one is clapping, when no one is supporting them. And that is the test. That is what separates those who talk about success from those who actually achieve it. So if people are calling you crazy right now, take it as a good sign. It means you're on the right track. It means you're doing something different. It means you're thinking in a way that others can't. And instead of letting it discourage you, let it fuel you. Let it remind you that every great success story starts with doubt. But the only way you get to the ending, the part where they call you a genius, where they call you a visionary, where they act like they always believed in you, is if you refuse to quit. Keep going. Keep believing. One day, they won't call you crazy anymore. They'll call you a genius. Number 10. They will ignore you now, but one day, they will chase you. At some point in your journey, you're going to realize something. Nobody cares in the beginning. Nobody is watching. Nobody is clapping for you. Nobody is checking in to see how you're doing. And for most people, that's enough to stop them right there. Because we all want recognition. We all want to be seen. We want support. We want validation. We want someone to believe in us before we have the results to prove it. But that's not how it works. That's not how success is built. In the beginning, they ignore you. They don't take you seriously. They think it's just a phase, just another idea, just another dream that's going to fade away like all the others. They don't ask about your progress. They don't check up on you. They don't support what you're building, what you're creating, what you're working on in silence. And that's where most people give up, because they're looking around, waiting for someone to believe in them before they even believe in themselves. But the truth is, nobody is coming to save you. Nobody is going to hand you the success you're after. Nobody is going to push you when you don't feel like showing up. This is on you. Every step, every sacrifice, every late night, every early morning, it's all on you. And if you can push through that silence, if you can keep going when nobody is paying attention, something interesting happens. See, the reason people ignore you in the beginning is because they don't believe you'll follow through. They don't think you'll make it. They assume you'll quit, like everybody else. But the longer you keep going, the harder you work in silence, the more consistent you stay. Despite the lack of recognition, the more they start to notice. They won't say anything at first. They'll watch from a distance, curious, but still doubtful. And then one day, the results start to show. Maybe your business starts taking off. Maybe your body starts transforming. Maybe your skills improve to the point where you can no longer be ignored. And suddenly, the same people who had nothing to say before start asking questions. They start showing interest. They start acting like they've been supporting you all along. That's when you realize that people don't ignore you because they don't care. They ignore you because they don't believe. But success changes everything. When you have nothing, when you're at the bottom, when you're just starting, you're invisible. But the moment you start winning, the moment you start making progress, the moment your work starts paying off, you become undeniable. And that's when everything shifts. The same people who once doubted you now want to be associated with you. The same ones who never supported you now act like they've always believed in you. The same ones who ignored you now want your time, your energy, your advice. That's why you have to be willing to walk through the silence, to endure the phase where nobody cares, where nobody claps, where nobody notices. Because that's the test. That's the part where most people fail. They think if nobody cares now, why even bother? But that's exactly why you have to keep going. Because once the results come, everything changes. So don't get discouraged when nobody is watching. Don't get frustrated when your hard work goes unnoticed. Don't let the lack of support stop you from moving forward. Because one day, the people who ignored you, who doubted you, who acted like you didn't exist, will be the same ones chasing you, wanting to be part of your success. But by then, you'll have a choice. You can let them in, or you can remember who was there when you had nothing, when you were grinding in silence, when you were fighting for your dreams alone. Either way, just know this: they may ignore you now, but if you stay consistent, if you stay relentless, if you refuse to quit, one day, they won't be able to ignore you anymore. They'll have no choice but to notice. At the end of the day, this journey is yours. No one is coming to push you. No one is coming to hold your hand. And that's okay. Because the moment you realize you don't need anyone to give you permission to go after what you want, that's when everything changes. The truth is, most people won't believe in you at first. They won't understand why you're working so hard, why you're making sacrifices, why you're choosing a different path. And that's fine, because one day, they'll see. One day, they'll look back and realize you weren't crazy. You were just ahead of them. But by then, it won't even matter, because you'll already be so far ahead that their opinions won't mean a thing. You won't need their approval. You won't need their validation, because you built yourself. You proved to yourself that you were capable, strong, and disciplined enough to make it happen. So keep moving forward, even when no one is watching. Keep pushing, even when no one is cheering. The people who ignored you today will respect you tomorrow. The ones who doubted you will wish they had supported you, but by then, you won't even care, because you'll have something far more valuable than their approval. You'll have the life you worked for. So go build, create, chase your dream with everything you've got. Walk alone if you have to, because in the end, the only person who truly needs to believe in you is you.